This part begins. And we see Janica, who is sitting inside the box and smiling. And seeing her, E.D. Roth-Taylor starts remembering some things that he had said to Lord Tell. He said, come to think of it, why did Janica go berserk? And Lord Tell had said, I think I have an idea. I once happened to see Janica's room, you see. And E.D. Roth-Taylor is thinking, each and everything in there was a beautiful symbol of sincerity and gratitude. But there wasn't even any space to open a book on that huge desk. The post-its pasted on her wall weighed down her shoulders like rocks. The solution to it all was way too simple. She simply had to take off the post-its on the wall and keep the countless gifts on her desk in some corner of her room. But Janica's misery came from her inability to do that like a main character in a fairy tale. She was obsessed with the fact that she had to honor all the goodwill and sincerity she received from the world with utmost diligence. There's no need to explain how reckless that was. The philosopher exploited that darkness. Janica going berserk was to be expected. However, why did it happen a month earlier than it was supposed to? Joint combat training originally, the hero of that scenario was Taylor, but since Lucy sent him flying in one blow, all the students became Janica's fans. Marilda and Lucy's contract was the reason Taylor got blown away in one attack. Lucy was able to form that contract because she frequently visited the forest in the north, since it contained the perfect place to nap, and the person who built that perfect place for napping was a certain character who was supposed to have left when the first act started. Then Janica laughingly says to E.D. Roth-Taylor, I think I get why Lucy naps here. It's so cozy. I didn't expect you to find me so easily, though. I think the others forgot about me amidst the whole chaos. Kinda hurts. After wreaking havoc on such a magnificent stage for everyone to see. I'm in the back seat now, that's it all over? I thought they'd look for me, saying, Where's Janica? Says the person who was hiding so one would find her. I can't really argue with that. I didn't expect you to find me right away. I wanted to just stay inside there a bit more. And E.D. Roth-Taylor asked Janica, why? So Janica says, because I'm about to ugly cry right now. And E.D. Roth-Taylor doesn't know what to say after listening to Janica. Then he begins to remember what the spirit wolf told him. He said, it's asking you to make sure you save Janica one day. And E.D. Roth-Taylor starts remembering that wolf's message. It feels as though he asked me to save Janica from falling into a situation like this one. But that can't be. I'm the only one who knows the future. He must have thought that while everyone gave Janica attention and pressure, in fact, be someone Janica can rely on. In the end, Janica failed. She tried forming a contract with a high-ranking spirit, but her haste during the summoning ritual made her fall prey to the spirit of darkness, destroying the faculty building in the process. She studied and trained in magic till late at night every day. She always smiled at her family, friends, and teachers who genuinely cheered her on, but while seemingly living up to everyone's expectations, she must have had a really hard time in private. Since that process itself was so beautiful, paradoxically enough, the failure itself was also beautiful. I can't tell how comforting these words would be to her. And E.D. Roth-Taylor says to Janica, Hey, Janica. You've worked hard. And E.D. Roth-Taylor is thinking, atop the stage, the parade of the proud main characters takes place, and applauses of price come rolling in. On the other hand, behind the stage, it's dark and quiet. The first act's villain exits the stage right as the main characters move forward, and then tears start falling from Janica's eyes. She starts crying. And E.D. Roth-Taylor is saying, I've witnessed the completion of the first act countless times. But it is only now. And as soon as E.D. Roth-Taylor looks up, he gets very surprised. Because many spirits start coming around Janica. And E.D. Roth-Taylor looks at them and says, I couldn't see them before. That I feel like I've properly seen it to the end. Then E.D. Roth-Taylor starts getting notifications through the system. Spirit Magic Spirit, Connection Level 10. Spirit Magic Spirit Understanding Level 10. Low Rank Fire Spirit Elgo is interested in you. Low Rank Wind Spirit Driss is interested in you. High Rank Wind Spirit Marilda is showing extreme interest in you. After this, 0 days have passed since the end of Janica's disciplinary committee trial. Janica acknowledged all her mistakes, and testified that she would willingly accept her punishment. However, during the first trial, all of Janica's professors and friends expressed utmost support. During the second trial, Phineas said that she wouldn't be trialed for the attempted murder of royalty. She testified that Janica, overpowered by Velocipher, didn't do that intentionally. Lortel came forward to address the loss incurred. Elb Merchant Association completely compensated the funds for restoration without asking for anything in return. Though they did add a conditional clause in the contract to reduce the custom fees on the school supplies that they distribute to half. In any case, the outcome of all this was the removal of any benefits given to yearly top students, the taking back of all prizes and decorations of glory, and disqualification from entering the Ophilis Hall from next semester, probation for 10 days, suspension for 20 days. It felt like they just shot a heart-touching montage in a coming-of-age drama. After this, two girls are talking. And one of the girls says, but Janica's shoulders seem droopier than usual. She must be under a lot of stress. In that case, we gotta step up, huh? And those people are having tea party together. And a girl is saying, don't even hint at the Glaskin incident. Don't do anything that might bother her, don't you ever ask her about how she feels and stuff. Make sure you keep the conversation strictly about personal affairs. That's it for the simulation. Are you ready, Anis? Now come on. Janica. And Janica says to both of them, liking and loving someone. Why do you think there's such a difference between the two? Both of them are surprised to hear Janica's words and they say, why would you suddenly mention something like that? So Janica says, this is about me, friend. That friend had a dream, you see. Then Janica starts thinking that she is sitting in one place, and she is very happy. And then someone calls her name, and when she looks back, she sees that E.D. Roth-Taylor has come sitting on a horse. And he is looking at her with great love. Then Janica goes to him, and makes E.D. Roth-Taylor wear the flower crown. And tells him, I prepared this for you, Ed. And they both have a lot of fun together. Janica is thinking about all this. And she is saying to both those girls, that same dream over and over. And my friends, I mean. And after listening to Janica's words, both of them get very surprised, and both of them are thinking, Janica, you were on probation for 10 days. You couldn't even meet any of your friends. And Janica's friend says, I see. What else did that friend say? Then she starts running away from this place, and she is saying, she said she'd be in her room blankly staring somewhere, and suddenly that person's face comes to her mind. Oh my! Silly me! I was supposed to help the assistant professor. By now! And her other friend is trying to stop her, and Janica is lost in her thoughts. And then Janica says bye to him. And her other friend is thinking, I need to approach this slowly and carefully to avoid hurting Janica's extremely delicate heart. If things go wrong, the whole student body will find out. The love story of the Janica Faye lover? I can't believe this. Then she says to Janica, Janica, shouldn't you think of this simply without much complications? Whether you like or hate someone is kind of a mystery, don't you think? Isn't it better for you to just be honest about your emotions right now? I mean, for you, friend. Then Janica says, you're right. I think you hit the nail on the head. As expected off you, Clara. And the girl says, also, from now on, try to be careful when you're talking about such sensitive topics. It won't be great for your friend's reputation. And hearing this, Janica says, gasp. Oh, you're right, Clara. This could have been bad. I prevented the rumors for now. Thanks for giving me genuine advice. I gotta get back to the Ophilic Hall now to report my suspension. And the girl says, yeah, I'll be there for a bit. I have to sort out my thoughts. Then she says goodbye to Janica. But that is very disappointing. After this we see E.D. Roth-Taylor. Who is thinking? Before this, I relentlessly saved money, but thanks to Phineas' petition, I was waived from next semester's fees. And with the gold coins I got, I bought a few tools. And as he goes ahead, he sees Janica. And looking at her he is thinking, I avoided her all this time, but now that the first act where Janica was the main character is over now. Then Edie Rothtailor says to Janica, "Hello, Janica. I guess your probation is over now, huh?" And Edie Rothtailor is thinking, it'd be good if I take the first step and say hello, right? But as soon as Janica sees Edie Rothtailor, she gets scared and hides behind a tree. And she is thinking, be honest about your feelings. But Janica starts running away from that place. And she is saying, I have stuff to do at the Ophilic Hall, so I'll see you later. Bye. And Edie Rothtailor is thinking, for Janica, the difficulty level was too high. And Ed Rothtailor, who made the kind Janica be truthful, was kinda amazing in a way. Right, let's not be too clingy. I'm about to be busy too after all. Finally, it's time to make the hut. Day 1. I chose the location to build the hut. I chose a wide area under the shade that didn't stand out too much and started working peacefully. Day 3. I started gathering wood. I had become quite proficient at wind blades, so that went smoothly. Day 6. I paused gathering wood for the time being, since the semester end results were out. I got pretty high scores for my practicals and my results for the theory exams were higher than the average freshman. Special incidents. Janica continued to ignore me. Janica's friends, Clara and Annis, looked at me as if to say that I shouldn't dare to show my face. I don't plan to either. Day 18. The lumber work is almost complete. I wonder if there was ever someone who became this proficient at wind blade. Day 20. Vacation started. Now I could put all my time into building the hut. Special incident. I went to check the trap I set earlier only to find Lucy caught there sleeping peacefully. I should stop using beef jerky as the bait. Day 27. Senior maid Belle Maya came to give me some herbs and mushrooms. She asked me how things were going with Janica. When I said she might hate me now, she tilted her head. Day 30. With one pillar as the center, the outer lumber walls collapsed. I realized that simply making and fitting joints properly wasn't enough to make it stable. This feels like shit. I ran into Janica's group again at the bakery. Janica just flat out ran away the moment our eyes met. Don't tell me it's... Day 37. Jigs came to help me. As you said, Taylor seems like a pretty good guy. Does he? Great. It's going as per the original storyline. Are we going to hammer nails all over this side as well? No, leave that side. That's for the chimney. Day 45. Neither the flooring nor the walls are attacked. There's not a single piece of furniture either. It was just a hut made of crude logs of wood. But there are outer walls and a ceiling too. If I shut the door completely, insects can't get in. And Edie Rothtailor is very happy because he has built his own house. And then he gets a notification from the system, new complete creation, log hut. Made by stacking logs trimmed to a standard style, by stacking them on pillars and crossbeams. It only has walls and a ceiling, but there's nothing inside. Crafting difficulty dash. 4-star. Your creation is complete. Your proficiency in creation has increased. And Edie Rothtailor is sitting in his house saying, I have a home now. And Janica is secretly looking at Edie Rothtailor. And Edie Rothtailor is saying, I'm done with the walls, flooring and the fireplace. It'd be good to put up a fence as well. A storage for the firewood and a few other stuff would be great too. And then Edie Rothtailor hears the sound of something falling on the roof of his house. Then when he came out of the house and looked at his terrace, he came to know that Lucy was sleeping on top of his terrace. And seeing him, Edie Rothtailor says, this isn't a damn nap tower. And then Janica calls Edie Rothtailor, and says hi to him. And Edie Rothtailor is a little surprised to see Janica. And Edie Rothtailor asks Janica, how come you're all the way out here? Then we are shown the scene of some time ago, when Belle Maya is combing Janica's hair. And she is saying to Janica, while I was in the forest last time, I went to young Master Ed's campsite and I found the sight there truly shocking. And Janica says, and you mean the hut? Then Belle Maya is asking, how'd you know? So Janica says, I saw it while I was passing by. And Belle Maya says, I see. Anyhow, He said he built it himself, but it was way more remarkable and well built than I expected. I was quite taken aback. After all, I didn't know he was talented at such things. I also wanted to look in there. You know, roam around to take a look, see how firm it is. Janica says, I see. So you're curious about stuff like that too, huh, Belle? And Belle Maya further says, of course, I'm human too. Anyone who saw a hut like that in their way would be curious about who built it, how they did it, and how it is from the inside, wouldn't they? It's an extremely expected and natural phenomenon. I tell you, expected and natural. And Janica is saying to E.D. Roth-Taylor, I was walking by, after seeing Marilda, and I saw the hut. So I dropped by. I mean, anyone who saw a hut like this would be curious about who built it, and how it is from the inside, wouldn't they? Isn't it? It's to be expected. It's only natural. Isn't it? And E.D. Roth-Taylor says, I guess? Then Janica says, it's a great hut, Ed. So E.D. Roth-Taylor says, I only built it recently, but didn't the spirits tell you? And Janica says, I mean, they told me a little bit, more like what they say passing by. Just mentioning it like, there's also the hut, and nothing much. You can see his fine muscles when he has his top off. His arm muscles were a bit thicker. The fine veins near his collarbone compared to the back of his hand are, just a little bit. I don't talk a lot with the spirits, you see. I don't really know how exactly you live, you see. And Janica's nose is bleeding. Then E.D. Roth-Taylor asks Janica, wanna come and take a look? It's just a log hut. And Janica is a little surprised to hear E.D. Roth-Taylor's words. Then she says yes to E.D. Roth-Taylor, and she starts seeing E.D. Roth-Taylor's house and starts praising it. After this, both of them are sitting outside the house with a fire lit. And Janica is saying to E.D. Roth-Taylor, I owe others a big one this time. Princess Lortel did so much, some of my friends even said they'd let me borrow money for their tuition. How will I ever pay them back? And E.D. Roth-Taylor starts looking at Janica. Then tell him, if you can't, just don't. Isn't it a generalization to think you gotta pay back what you owe? And Janica gets surprised after hearing this and she says, whoa, I've never thought of it that way. And E.D. Roth-Taylor is thinking, right. That's the kind of person Janica is. She can't understand that the incident happened because the weight of all that sincerity of others pressed her down. Despite there being so many supporting her with tuition fees, or rather investing in her, she resolved to move from the Ophelis Hall with state-of-art facilities to the outdated Dex Hall, all because she wanted to owe less to others, even if a little bit. In Ophelis Hall, there's one room for every student, but in Dex Hall, there's 8 or more students in a single room. Spending the whole day being looked at with envy would be like being chained in a prison for Janica. In the end, it won't solve any of her underlying issues. The vicious cycle still hasn't ended. And E.D. Roth-Taylor says to Janica, if you ever want to be secluded, you can drop by any time. I don't mind. And listening to E.D. Roth-Taylor's words, a smile appears on Janica's face and she says, yeah, that makes me really happy. Hey Ed. If you ever feel overwhelmed, or can't handle something alone, I hope you make sure to tell me. When that happens, I'll help you at all costs. And after listening to Janica's words, a smile appears on E.D. Roth-Taylor's face and E.D. Roth-Taylor says, overwhelmed, you say? And both of them start looking towards the sky. Then E.D. Roth-Taylor is saying, the second semester is approaching soon. That's about the time of the start of Act 2. Sage's Sealed Grimoire. The great sage Syavania made records of aspectual magic in this book. Aspectual magic is a high difficulty level magical branch that's known to alter the very principles of nature. This little worn-out book will cause a storm. Lortel is saying, as I thought, it smells of money after all. That will devour the entire academy. Regardless. And E.D. Roth-Taylor says to Janica, thanks for saying that, but that won't happen. And E.D. Roth-Taylor is thinking that won't happen. At least not to me. You're going to have a hard time, Taylor. It has nothing to do with me, but it'll seriously be hard as hell. I'm cheering for you, man. After this the scene shifts, the failed swordsman of Sylvania. The honor students at Ophilus Halls are almost guaranteed a life like nobles. First choice of seating in a class, guaranteed freedom during meal time, special maids, and tons of other convenient perks at a whole nother level. This is where the problem arises. There was heavy rain to the southwest side of the Valori area around the time of returning to school after vacation. As per the academy, only the Ophilus Hall students were provided horse carriages and boats to return to school. If they couldn't return on time, they were given the perk of relaxing for a few days. The Dex Hall's inferior students who trudged along, and returned even through the whole downpour but failed to do so in time, feared deduction of points and felt frustrated. Eventually, the pent-up feelings exploded in front of the Ophilic Hall. All of this played out. Proposition relating to the commute of the Ophilic Hall students. And Lortel is saying, rain's coming down really hard, just as I thought. Within the hands of a merchant. The merchant got in touch with the rep of the inferior students in advance. And that guy only cared about screwing over the academy and Ophilus Hall. Discontentment was already through the roof. Only thing they needed was a common justification for the inferior and regular students. Will Lane, who was adept at provoking and manipulating others with his words, would pull the trigger for the rest. The justification was already set. A clear discriminatory treatment against regular students who had to return to school no matter what through the downpour. A proposal suggesting a proactive change in the deadline to return to school supported by acknowledging the exceptional treatment Ophilus Hall students received. Ophilus Hall's head maid, and a part of the Academy's administration review division were already on Lortel's side. They will fervently support Lortel's proposal. At this point, it didn't matter whether the Academy actually accepts the proposal, or not. Just the thought of discussing this as a solution will be sufficient to infuriate the inferior students. They'll amplify the entire controversy into the largest, most vocal issue. Ophilus Hall is adorned with art pieces donated by noble and affluent families. And even the walls, carpets and hardwood furniture were crafted by artisans. The more damage to assets, the better. While they were at it, it'd be best if they completely destroyed part of the Ophilus Hall. The more they run amok, the more of a critical hit it'll be to the finances of the Academy that's already in a predicament due to the Glaskin incident. And as the negotiations for the Sage's sealed grimoire were currently underway, it granted the Elp Merchant Association a distinct advantage. The Sage's sealed grimoire is like the heart of Sylvania, yet people are willing to offer even their own hearts in times of desperation. I wonder when the rain will stop. There isn't a single ray of light in this gloomy sky. It's like the sky I saw in the slums wearing those shabby rags. I can't help but mock myself for feeling relieved. This unbelievably romantic land of learning has way too many lights. The image of me living in utter darkness, covered completely in dirt, is way more vivid to me. The traces of conspiracy on top of my desk are the proof to that. They're traces of a person who has lived a life, never showing the slightest sincerity, and always betraying and suspecting others. While desperately struggling to survive, this is what I turned into. But that doesn't change the essence of my filthy self. So I frantically look for my own kind. Even in Sylvania, where full of bright and radiating people reside, there must be someone among them who would acknowledge the disgusting life of a gutter rat covered in filth. The endless lookout for my kind never stopped despite the vain hope in my heart. How lonely, because one's true self never changes. To make it through the miserable reality, Lortel always took the same stance. Lortel was the dark curtain that covered the gloomy reality behind the stage at all times. The audience called her Black Veil. Then the students are shouting and saying, "We can't take this treatment anymore. This is the land of learning. At least guarantee us equality in grades." In the original storyline, the Ophilus Hall occupation incident is a story of how the main character stops the inferior students who we provoked against Lortel. There are middle bosses from 1st to 5th floor of Ophilus Hall who interrupt the main character and help the inferior students. The middle boss of the 5th floor, Toad the decoy. Toad mocked by Taylor calling him a loser, and got beaten up by Taylor's friends, so he held a grudge against them and was bought off by Lortel. His role was to overpower the rookie maid protecting the 1st floor, open Ophilus Hall's door, and let the students in. Then E.D. Rothtailor breaks the door and comes out, and everyone is surprised to see him. And those people are saying, Ophelis Hall's doors are open. Let's go in. A subpar decent treatment. We're not asking for a lot. Just a subpar decent treatment. Let's make our voices heard. The maintenance office is on the 4th floor. Let's take over that floor and make an announcement. Once the students get to the 1st floor, the Act 2 Phase 1 middle boss Tote plays a certain role. The role of stopping the main character and his friends who'd come after them. Then the man says, "So you're the one Lortel bought off." That's right. Originally this role was, yes, I'm the one in charge of checking the 1st floor and being on the lookout. Supposed to be Tote's Ed. Rothtailor. So why the hell did I become a middle boss?